And filling in for Dr. Joel Wallach today, we've got Dr. Peter Glidden. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Glidden.
Always a pleasure, Doug. Always a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden here, your steadfast advocate for health. I'm a naturopathic physician. I have 25 years of clinical experience in the delivery of science-based, clinically verified alternatives to drugs and surgery for the recovery and optimization, the recovery from health, the recovery from disease, and the optimization of the human body. There was a study done a number of years ago published in the Journals of Clinical Oncology, which is the gold standard of cancer research done in the world. It was a 12-year study. It was a huge data sample. They looked at thousands of patients, thousands of people all around the world, adults who had developed cancer and who were treated with chemotherapy, right? Adults who had developed cancer and were treated with chemotherapy. And the results, which were published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology, unbelievable. 97% of the time, 97% of the time, 97% of the time, chemotherapy for cancer treatment in cancer in adults does not work. It doesn't work 97% of the time. That's a gigantic number. And by the way, this in the Journal of Clinical Oncology. This was in the Journal of Clinical Oncology. Let me pull up the reference here. The Journal of Clinical Oncology, published in December 2004, Volume 16, Issue 8. Journal of Clinical Oncology, Volume 16, Issue 8, December of 2004. It was 14 years of data from 1990 to 2004. 97% of chemotherapy for adult onset cancer does not work. Now, inquiring minds want to know if chemotherapy was proven to be ineffective in the treatment of cancer 10 years ago, 9.5 years ago now. Why is chemotherapy still rolled out? Well, because it's a gigantic moneymaker. It is a gigantic moneymaker. It may interest you to know that if your MD prescribes a heartburn medicine or a pain medication or a high blood pressure medication, there's no financial kickback for them from prescribing the drug. Now, you know, if they prescribe 1,000 units of Prilosec in 1 month, the company that makes Prilosec may send that doctor to Cancun for a convention, quote unquote, but there's no immediate financial kickback. Not so with chemotherapy. Chemotherapeutic drugs are the only category of drugs which the physician who prescribes it's legally fine for that person, for that oncologist to get a kickback. So here's kind of sort of how it goes. The hospital buys the drug from the drug company for $2,000. They sell it to the patient for $12,000. Insurance pays $9,000, and the hospital and the oncologist split the difference. It is a gigantic moneymaker. Chemotherapy is a gigantic moneymaker. And it was proven 10 years ago to be completely ineffective in the treatment of adult onset cancer. Now, how can such a situation exist? Well, I'll tell you how such a situation exists, because we don't have a free medical market. The medical market here has been monopolized by the pharmaceutical industry, the American Medical Association, and the MDs since the early 1920s. And, you know, I mean, look at ancient Rome. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's good to be the king, and when you're the king, you can get away with whatever you want because, well, you're the king. It's a runaway train. It is a juggernaut out of control. And one of the reasons here that this nonsense can persist is culpability on the of the doctor. So, you know, you have a pain in your stomach, and you go for a checkup, and they do diagnostic imaging, and they see, oh, you've got a tumor in your stomach. And so instead of having a conversation with you about what the treatment for the tumor will do. Instead of having an honest, open conversation telling you all about the treatment for the tumor, what it will do, what it won't do, how effective it is, how ineffective it is, how much it's going to cost, the side effects that it's going to create, they just sign you up for treatment. They say, well, we found a tumor in your stomach and we're setting you up for chemotherapy. We have an opening. You're lucky. 3 days from now, your chemotherapy is going to start. Come in tomorrow when you can get the paperwork underway. There's no conversation about it at all. Now, I wrote a book years ago, The MD Emperor Has No Clothes, available for a $10 download, electronic. I have an ebook. It's $10. If you want an old-fashioned book, paper, ink and paper, it's $19. You can purchase it at my website, drglidden.com, drglidden.com. In the book that I wrote, I have a chapter about cancer, with 10 questions that every oncology patient, every cancer patient needs to ask their oncologist. If every cancer patient in the world asked their oncologist in the presence of a recording device and a witness these 10 questions, very few of the cancer patients would embark upon conventional cancer treatment. Here's a sampling of the questions. Doctor, does your treatment cure my cancer? Well, if it does, that's a good question to ask, wouldn't you think? If it doesn't cure my cancer, what's it going to do? What side effects can I expect the treatment to engender? Will the treatment cause cancer? How are you going to treat the side effects, and what's going to happen to the quality of my life? How much money are you personally going to profit from the administration of this treatment? How much money is this hospital personally going to profit from the administration of this treatment? And I'd like a list of 10 patients who have had this type of cancer, who've been treated at this hospital, that I can call and ask what their experience was, etc., etc., etc. But nobody does this. Nobody asks the simple questions, because the MDs have everybody over a barrel, because they monopolize the industry, and we all need our heads examined.
We are back on Dead Doctors Don't Lie on the ZBS Radio Network with your host today, Dr. Peter Glidden, filling in for Dr. Wallach. Welcome back, Dr. Glidden.
Hey, thanks a lot, Doug. You know, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and when it comes to cancer treatment, it's just a big, bad voodoo daddy in this country.
You are so right. In fact, I've got a CNN story here that the headline reads, "Study, Cancer Ads Tug at Heartstrings, Leave Out Caveats." And they say advertising for cancer centers are inflated with emotions but fail to disclose the fine print. This all comes from a study that was released earlier this week, and this is actually published in the Annals of Internal Medicine and was funded by the National Institute of Health. They looked at 409 unique TV and magazine advertisements from top media markets. They found that a systematic content analysis of these ads found that the content is sharply directed at a would-be patient's heartstrings. 85% made an emotional appeal to consumers. 61% used language about hope, extension of life, or a cure. And 52% touted innovative or advanced technology or treatments. 30% evoked fear by mentioned death, fear, or loss. And then they go on to say nearly half of these advertisements included patient testimonials, but only about 15% included a disclaimer about patient outcome. No advertisements describe the outcomes of a, quote, typical patient and what they may experience, and failure to disclose this information is a violation of the Federal Trade Commission mandate. And they go on to say, noticeably missing from most of the TV ads was information about risks, scientific supported benefits, and cost. Only about 2% disclosed the risk of the cancer treatment, and about 5% mentioned the cost of the treatment. Report didn't look at how the ads affected a patient's decision for care. However, the researchers did note that the emotion-based advertisement is a powerful means of persuasion and potentially harmful to the consumer. And they're quoted as saying, clinical advertisements that use emotional appeal uncoupled with information about indications of benefit, risks, or alternative treatments may lead to patients to pursue care that is either unnecessary or unsupported by scientific evidence. Gee whiz, what a surprise.
Yeah, and nobody's going to go to jail. Nothing's going to happen here. There's going to be nothing's going to happen. And, you know, one of the reasons that this can happen is because for the last, I don't know, 50 years, I mean, ever since the advent of TV, we've been socialized to believe, to genuflect at the altar of the MD, right? First it was Marcus Welby, and then it was Hawkeye Pierce on MASH, and then it was George Clooney, and that character that he played about the doctors in Seattle.
Was that seen elsewhere?
Yeah, something like that, right? All of these TV shows, all of the time, make in House, my least favorite television show ever made, House, completely misportrays medical care and how it really happens. I swear to God, if somebody did a television show like Cops, where it's all reality, like you just follow people around with video cameras and see what really happens, if they did that with cancer care, if they did that with arthritis treatment, if they did that with just a normal emergency room visit at the hospital, people would be horrified. Doctors have been glorified, and I think it's been an on-purpose thing here, because, you know, you don't see all of the information that you see about chiropractors on national TV, or about homeopaths on national TV, or about herbalists or acupuncturists on national TV. It's all condescending. These people are never painted in the light of a licensed and regulated physician. They're never painted in that light. And it's a problem. We've been socialized to believe in the myth of the MD, and, you know, it's a problem. And so with half a century of this type of socialization through the media, making people think that the MD is the king of the hill, the MD is the king of the hill, my MD knows what's best, my MD knows everything about medicine, and everybody else is a back-of-the-bus quack. When on top of that, you have advertisements for medical treatments which are spurious and which are specious and which completely manipulate the message in order to get people into the chute. People don't question it once they're in the chute because they've been socialized to trust their medical doctor. And this is the biggest mistake that we can take. Ladies and gentlemen, your medical doctor may be the nicest human being God ever created, but they do not know what's best for you. They only know what they've been trained in, and what they've been trained in is a small piece of the pie. You want to get a bigger, better piece of the pie? Call us today. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. Don't even think about touching that dial. Hey, Doug, let's get right to the phones, man. Who's first?
All right, let's head to Tomball, Texas. And Jennifer, you're on with Dr. Peter Glidden.
Hi, Dr. Glidden.
Hey, Jennifer. Thanks for calling. What's going on?
Oh, well, first I want to say I love your book, The MD Emperor Has No Clothes.
Oh, that's very kind.
I just love it. And I always wanted to loan it to my sister, but I didn't want to give it to her because I was afraid she wouldn't give it back. So I finally just bought her a copy.
It makes a wonderful Christmas gift, don't you think?
Well, this was a birthday gift, and it was a wonderful gift. My brother, I'm calling about my brother. He's in pretty good health. He's like 60. And he weighs like 175 pounds, yep. But he's got knee problems.
Yeah.
And he has seen a doctor for it, and they wanted to either do cortisone injections,
yeah.
which they said would only, work for a couple of months, and then they even talked about knee replacement.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you don't want to do that. So I told him I'd give you a call and talk to you about it.
Oh, great. Well, one of the easiest things to help people recover from with medical nutrition is bone and joint function, right? There is a point of no return beyond which the body can't fix itself, but I don't know where that point is anymore. Mm-hmm. I got great results with naturopathic medicine, medical therapeutics before I met Dr. Wallach and started following his advice. But I have to tell you something. In the last 4.5 years, since I have in fact been leaning on Dr. Wallach's research, leaning on Dr. Wallach's clinical experience, and using Dr. Wallach's protocols, I don't know what planet I'm on anymore, because the things that I've seen people recover from under Dr. Wallach's tutelage eclipse anything that I had previously had experience with. I'm telling you, Dr. Wallach's therapeutics are the best kept secret in the world of medicine. And so when it comes to joints, right, joints start to deteriorate, not because you're getting older, not because you have a voodoo curse and not because you have the bad joint gene. It's simply because you're unwittingly eating food on a regular basis, which is causing low-grade inflammation in the body, and then the body kind of starts to wear out on its weakest link. And some people, the weak link is their stomach or their left kidney or their right knee or their left elbow or whatever. That really is the genetic basis of disease, because everybody does come into life with built-in strengths and weaknesses in their body that are then acted upon by the stressors of life. So he's been eating the wrong food all the time, and so those chickens have finally come home to roost. And also, the good food that he's been eating, the proper food that he's been eating and drinking, doesn't have the requisite nutrients necessary for his joints to fix themselves. And the joints are trying to fix themselves all the time. MDs take advantage of this when they give Boniva and Fosamax. So the MDs know that this process is at play, but they really don't want to go there, because it's, again, it's not the MD's job to fix the problem. It's the MD's job to manage the problem until things get so bad that surgery is necessary. And, you know, giving somebody a cortisone shot for this is like snipping the wires on the check engine light, and then disregarding the problem that the check engine light was warning you about. It's nonsense. So stick with me on the other side of the break. I'll dial this in. It's a really, really simple program to support and promote healthy bone and joint function. So glad that you called. More to come, folks. Stick around. Thanks, Doug. We're talking to Jennifer here about, is it your husband, Jennifer, whose
My brother.
Your brother. Okay,
Yeah.
Great. So the recommendation to support and promote bone and joint function is easy. And this, I think, is one of the biggest disconnects that people have. You know, we've been socialized over the last 80 or so years to believe, number one, that the MD is the king of the hill and that everybody else is the back of the bus quack. And that, number two, that healing is a complicated, sophisticated process that can only take place in multi-million-dollar high-tech facilities. It's nonsense. Your MD's not the king. He's been trained in one aspect of medical science. There are hundreds of others, and they're more effective for chronic illness. And the notion that healing is a sophisticated, difficult process is also nonsense. Surgery is complicated. Healing is easy, because your body every moment of every day is attempting to optimize its structure and function. I mean, your body was so smart it grew itself all by itself from a single-celled organism into you. So holistic physicians postulate that, well, son of a gun, if your body knew how to do that, it probably knows how to fix itself. And so all that we do is provide the body with the raw materials necessary to do that and get out of the way and see what happens. So the recommendation here would be 1, healthy bone and joint pack, and 2, selenium. 1 healthy bone and joint pack and 2 selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month. And I prefer the original healthy bone and joint pack because it has the liquid calcium, and I like the liquid calcium better than the powdered calcium. That's just a personal preference, and I believe it. I've seen it work more efficiently and more effectively. To that program, for a month or two at the beginning, it wouldn't hurt to add an extra bottle of the white liquid calcium beyond OsteoFX liquid. So that's 1 healthy bone and joint pack and 2 ultimate selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month. So I would give him a 200-pound dose, right? He's, what, 175 pounds? So give him 2 healthy bone and joint packs, 4 bottles of selenium, and 1 extra bottle of Beyond OsteoFX. And he should experience a specific and measurable, noticeable change in some aspect of his body within the first 4 weeks. And generally speaking, we recommend people with, you know, a specific condition like, oh, I've got arthritis in my left knee or whatever, give the program 90 days before they judge its effectiveness up or down. But I would be very surprised if he didn't feel something extraordinary somewhere in his body in the first couple of weeks. Now, the last thing for him or anybody else to do, right, in addition to fortifying the body with the essential nutrients sufficient to the cause, would be to eliminate from his consumption foods that are hurting him. And we put that list together. It's free. You can get it on my website. It's also in my book. It's the 10 Bad Foods. You know the list. So just advise him to stop eating those foods. And if he wants to know why those foods are bad, I did a free video on it. It's accessible through my website, drglidden.com. So clean up the diet, give him the nutritional supplements, and have him lean heavily on results. And, have him give us a call in about 21 days with a report. I'd look forward to that.
Question?
Yeah.
After the 90 days, say after 90 days, he says, wow, my knees feel great. What does he do then? Does he just go to a Healthy Start Pack and just stay on
that's
that
that's a great question. Yes. So the intervention here that we advocate, it's a two-phase intervention. Number one is a therapeutic phase where you need more stuff, and then number two is a maintenance phase. And it's entirely possible that he could get away with just the Healthy Start Pack appropriate for body weight moving forward. The only way to know is to try it and see. And then if the knees start to feel a little funky again, right, we'll add some more glucogel and more selenium. You got to kind of micromanage it like that. But I like the way that you think. You're absolutely right. Once he feels out of the woods, just have him fall back to a maintenance Healthy Start Pack. Life is good. But he always has to stop eating the 10 bad foods. Thanks for the call.
Let's head to Dallas, Texas, and Leon. You're on with Dr. Peter Glidden.
Hey, Leon, thanks for calling. What's up? I'm good, thanks.
A friend of mine who I consider a gentle giant surprised me on Sunday, and he confided that he has issues with rage at home. He explains that he feels it coming on, and it feels similar to the feeling that he has. He's a pretty muscular guy, and he does weightlifting. He says that feeling of almost like euphoria, I guess. And, we were wondering if it's, he works outside and he drinks sweet tea constantly during the day, and he loves sweets. And we thought perhaps it might be related to a blood sugar issue.
Well, I like the way that you think, and right from the proper perspective, everything makes sense. So on the one hand, our expectation of the human body mind is that a person who is enjoying a state of optimal health does not experience momentary bouts of uncontrollable rage, right? That a momentary bout of uncontrollable rage or depression or anything, or any type of a pain right anywhere in the body, that's a symptom of an imbalance. It's a symptom. It's like the check engine light on the dashboard. Is something wrong here? We better address it. Now, the easy part of our job here is that unlike the MDs, we don't need to do $10,000 worth of sophisticated diagnostic discovery to attempt to dial this in. All that we need to do is support and promote his body's ability to optimize its structure and function holistically. And honestly, that's easier than falling off of a potato truck. But you're on the right track here. Most often, mood disorders have their roots in a blood sugar issue. And when people are craving sweets, and that's a hallmark of a blood sugar issue, and that's also a hallmark of a mineral deficiency, as opposed to a vitamin or an essential fatty acid or an amino acid deficiency. So the initial intervention here would be for 90 days. The healthy blood sugar pack, one healthy blood sugar pack, one selenium, and one bottle of plant-derived minerals, not the cherry mints. One bottle of plant-derived minerals per 100 pounds of body weight per month, plus eliminate the 10 bad foods. Now, people that work out, people that have, I don't care if they're weekend warriors or if they're semi-professional athletes or if they just like to play 18 holes of golf once a week, anybody who is that in touch with their physical body, who starts longevity, is going to notice a difference physically. They're going to have better response at the gym, a lessened recovery time, the hand-eye coordination gets better, muscle tone improves, everything improves. So I know that this person, the likelihood that this person is going to feel something subjectively that makes him want to maintain the discipline is very, very high here. And we would also expect within 90 days for there to be a sea change here, a reduction in the quantity and the quality of the rage episodes. This is a very good place to start. The healthy blood sugar pack, the selenium, and the plant-derived minerals. Eliminate the 10 bad foods. And, you might have just saved somebody's life, man. I mean, no kidding. because when stuff like this goes south, it can go south in a very bad way, especially if the person involved, is a bruiser, right? So good for you, man, for having the back of somebody in your life who's not yourself. And this is one of the reasons, I got to tell you, this is one of the reasons why I love longevity so much. I mean, honest to God, Dr. Wallach's therapeutics are the most remarkable thing I've ever seen in 25 years of clinical work, number one. Number two, the business opportunity is awesome. And number three, the quality of people that are attracted to longevity are awesome people because they're open-minded, they care about the welfare of others, they want to do the right thing, they want to help. And you know how satisfying it is to hang out with people like this? Extremely. So keep up the good work, man. Give this a shout, give this a try, and then give us a shout back with a report. And I'd look forward to that. Thanks so much for the call. Doug, who's next?
Let's head to Oregon. And Alan, you're on with Dr. Peter Glidden.
Hey, Alan, is it raining up there yet?
No, actually, it looks like it's going to start any time.
You've had some pretty decent sunny weather up there lately, haven't you?
Yes, we have. It's been really nice.
My son lives in Seattle, and he brags about it all the time. I'm saying, well, just you wait, son. Just you wait.
Retribution is coming your way. Huh? Hey,
thanks for the call. What's up?
Well, I called you, I don't know, many weeks ago telling you about my shoulder. I was having shoulder issues. And what I eventually did is went into the doctors, and he confirmed that it was a rotator cuff thing there. Still had a hard time in moving, but still on the program, taking the glucogel, the liquid calcium, taking, the selenium, everything. And I ended up having to get a cortisone shot, which I did hear you talking earlier about. That's not great, but it worked out in my case better because the cortisone shot sort of took the edge off, and it allows the rest of the body to heal. And the cortisone shot didn't work right away. I mean, they said, a couple of days you'll start to feel something different. Well, it was a couple of weeks before I even noticed even a little bit. And I had thought about going in for another one, but it started like loosening me up there. And being on the program has helped out tremendously. Thinking I was getting better, I went to swat after one of my kids for doing something wrong, and my arm felt like, what happened? So when I was up there kind of doing like where I just came in to have him check out the rest of the stuff on me, I showed him my arm. He says, you have a torn bicep tendon?
Yeah.
And which makes me look like I'm a little bit more muscular on one arm.
Yeah.
It's really sore. And I'm scheduled tomorrow to go to the orthopedic guy to have him check it out. I'm not going to let him do any kind of treatment with it. I just want to get a good diagnostic look at it, and then I'll treat it myself through our
All right,
product.
well, great. I'm so glad you called. There's a couple things to understand about everything that's going on here for you, okay? Number one, remember, drugs are not the problem. It's how they're used. It's not the gun, it's how it's used. It's not the drug, it's how it's used. If you're a smart physician, you can use pharmaceuticals to your advantage to facilitate the healing process. And, that's what smart physicians do. But when you're not a smart physician and you use a drug simply to manage the symptoms of the illness, it's only a matter of time until those chickens come back to roost and you're going to hurt the patient. So this is one of the times that the cortisone can be used successfully to somebody's advantage while you're already on board with a medical nutrition program that attempts to get to the root cause of the disease. So, I mean, this is a perfect storm for you, using the cortisone on top of the medical nutrition. So there's no harm and no foul there whatsoever. Now, with the tear to the tendon, there's a couple of things to be aware of. If it is a complete tear, if the tendon has completely ripped off or the ligament has ripped off of the bone, the only thing that's going to fix that is surgery. The only thing. But if it's a partial tear, if some part of that ligament or tendon is still attached to the bone, then you're good to go with medical nutrition and you don't need surgery, okay? So when you have this assessed, you want to ask the orthopedic guy, Is this a partial tear? Is it a complete tear? And then you'll know. But here's where it's going to get tricky. Guaranteed, they are going to recommend you have a CT scan. Guaranteed. Refuse the CT scan and have him do an old-fashioned physical orthopedic exam or a high-definition ultrasound to assess the extent of the damage. Do not have a CT scan. It's 500 times the amount of radiation of one chest x-ray. Avoid the CT scan like the plague and have the doctor do his job the old-fashioned way. And if it's a complete tear, you're going to have surgery. And if that's the case, call us back and I'll give you my advice for pre and post-surgery support. So glad that you called. I appreciate your trust. Now, keep up the discipline. It's only a matter of time until it produces benefits.
We are back on Dead Doctors Don't Lie on the ZBS Radio Network with our host today, Dr. Peter Glidden, filling in. Welcome back.
So remember, it's not the drug that we're opposed to, it's how it's used. You can use a drug to help somebody, and you can use a drug to cover up symptoms and hurt somebody. And because of the methodology that the MDs are trained in, which is referred to as allopathic reductionism, when they use drugs, their therapeutics become the leading cause of death in the United States and also the leading cause of bankruptcy. Want to know why? What's the most expensive medical treatment? The one that doesn't work. I rest my case. Doug, who's next?
Let's head to Virginia. And Joan, you're on with Dr. Peter Glidden.
Hey, Virginia, thanks for the call.
Hi,
What's
Dr.
up?
Glidden. Hi.
How are you?
I have several problems I'd like to talk to you about. I'll just list them.
Okay.
I have a sleep problem.
Is it hard to fall asleep or hard to stay asleep?
Hard to stay asleep. I go to sleep, but then I wake up every 1 or 2 hours or, all through the night. Sometimes I just lay there and I can't go back to sleep. A lot of
All
times
right,
I
that's
lay
a blood
there for
sugar
hours.
issue. Okay, good. Yep.
Blood sugar?
Yep.
Okay. And chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah, that's a chronic multiple nutrient deficiency syndrome.
Okay. And then osteoarthritis.
Yeah, that's a lack of sulfur-bearing molecules, lack of calcium, a lack of minerals in your body. So all of the things that you're bothered by so far are all under the subheading of nutrient deficiencies.
Okay. And I also, when I take a thyroid test, the numbers are okay, but I have nodules on my thyroid and I have a goiter.
Okay, so the most common cause of goiter, and the Food and Drug Administration actually did a good thing back in the day. They made it mandatory for manufacturers to put iodine in salt. Mm-hmm. There was a big goiter epidemic in the Midwest, and rather than doing hundreds of thousands of surgeries, they just put iodine in the salt, and it went away. So the main cause of a goiter is not enough iodine in the diet, and not enough of the trace mineral selenium. Again, nutrient deficiencies. Okay, what's next?
And I have a blood pressure problem.
Okay, the most common cause of blood pressure, there's a saying in diagnostic science that when you hear hoofbeats, you think about horses before you think about zebras or camels, which means you think about the most common things that cause things before you think about weird things that cause things. The most common cause of high blood pressure is a deficiency in calcium and magnesium. Again, mineral deficiencies.
Okay, and I also have very dry eyes.
Yeah, dry eyes, interesting. That has to do with selenium and consumption of foods that are pro-inflammatory, because your eyes have, little vessels, right, that bring good fluid in and bring bad fluid out of the eye, just like anywhere else in the body. And when those vessels get clogged up, your eyes get dry. And what causes those vessels to clog up? Chronic inflammation. What causes chronic inflammation? Consistent consumption of food that's inappropriate for the human body. What's your current body weight?
About 132.
Okay, so here's what I would start with for 90 days. I would get this stuff every month for 3 months and look to see how it affects your body-mind. I would do one healthy blood sugar pack, 3 bottles of selenium. That's S like Sam, E, L like Larry, E, N like Nancy, I, U, M. One healthy blood sugar pack, 3 bottles of selenium. 1 bottle of Beyond Osteo, O-S-T like Thomas, E-O, FX, F like Frank, X like X-ray, Beyond Osteo FX, 1 bottle of that. 3 bottles of liquid Glucogel Plus, G-L-U-C-O-G-E-L Plus. 3 bottles of liquid Glucogel Plus, and 1 bottle of plant-derived minerals. 1 bottle of plant-derived minerals. Now, I want you to start salting your food with salt that's been iodized. I don't care if it's Himalayan salt or table salt. Make sure there's iodine in it. Salt your food so that it tastes good. Visit my website and download the free document called Good Food, Bad Food. Eliminate from your consumption the 10 bad foods. Take those supplements, keep your fingers crossed, and give us a call back in about a month. Appreciate it. We're up against the clock. Got to go. Thanks, everybody. God willing, and the creek don't rise. I'll see you next time.